You absolutely have to love the game of football. That's why it is the biggest sport in America. And it's taken over the world as well, right? Because this sport, the sample size is so small. The room for error is so small that every game matters. And that's what we're going to talk about today. There's not going to be any stats. I'm not going to do any cutaways. It's me and you having a conversation, right? A lot of people. Now, listen, do I enjoy being right? I do. Who wants to be wrong, right? And in this case, I want to be very clear about something. It's only a quarter of the season. Season is by no means over, but it's definitely started, right? And the Lions, it's a long season. No matter what happens tomorrow in Seattle, it's a long season. It's 13 games left. But let me tell you why I'm in front of you today. I'm watching the Minnesota Vikings absolutely dismantle it. The making of this video is 28-0, game over. It is game, set, match. And the Minnesota Vikings is a squad that most of us had as last in the division. They lost Kirk Cousins. They were going to be in a mini rebuild. They lost to Neil Hunter. Justin Jefferson got paid. So we thought that we had the arrogance to think that they were going to be at the bottom of the division. Now, granted, it's a long season left. They could not win another game, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. But the purpose of this video is I'm loving this. I'm loving this. And it's not for me, I was right. Lions don't make a Super Bowl, then I was right. That's just it. That's bottom line. But I'm loving this because this is really going to test the Detroit Lions. This whole thing is going to test the Detroit Lions. Now, again, it's not how you start, it's how you finish, right? The Philadelphia Eagles started 7-0, something like that. They were at one point 10 and something and absolutely had a catastrophic implosion at the end of the year. All of that stuff is possible. But right now, after a quarter of the season almost, barring the end of the first quarter of the season, ends tomorrow night with, ironically, our team playing. And the Detroit Lions up against it. We talk about our team is built for adversity, right? Kneecaps and all that stuff, which I love. All true. And this year is going to prove that because we have an opportunity to do something huge here. Now, the Minnesota Vikings are going to move to 4-0. The Detroit Lions right now are 2-1. You could argue they should be 3-0, okay? But they're going to move to 4-0, and with a win tomorrow, which we must do, we're going to move to 3-1. The Lions have a bye week after that. The Minnesota Vikings play the New York Jets, who playing good football right now, okay? They can beat them. Any team could have a bad week. The Lions come back, and they play the Dallas Cowboys, who are beatable. They're going to be down two of their best defenders. Guess who's off? The Minnesota Vikings are off in week 6. Guess who plays each other in week 7? The Minnesota Vikings and the Detroit Lions, all right? The Detroit Lions, best case scenario, are 4-1, about to play the Minnesota Vikings. Worst case scenario, okay, we are 2-3, okay? Man, that sounds nasty. 2-3 sounds disgusting. Minnesota Vikings, after winning today, the best case scenario for them is 5-0. Their worst case scenario, barring they don't blow one of the biggest leads in NFL history, okay, to be blown, which is ironic because they came back from the biggest deficit in NFL history. Barring that, the worst they can be is 4-1, playing us, okay? Now, if we, best case scenario for us, we're 4-1, they're 4-1, the winner of that week 7 matchup wins, or not wins, is ahead of the NFC North. Because with a loss today, the Packers, I don't think they could be there. I haven't looked at their schedule. So you could have 2 4-1 teams playing for the leading the division in week 7. Now, granted, we still got 11 NFL weeks to go. Or the middle scenario is that the Vikings are 5-0, Lions are 4-1. The winner of that game wins, or I keep saying wins, is ahead of the division. So either way it goes, if the Lions go and play Minnesota at 4-1, no matter if Minnesota is 5-0 or 4-1, the Lions win that game, they would be leading the division after 7 weeks due to the tiebreaker of head-to-head. So even if the Vikings would then drop to 5-1, the Lions would improve to 5-1, and by virtue of tiebreaker, lead the NFC North at that point. Now, why am I making this video? I'm making this video because it's not the end of the world. I'm not having a panic attack. I'm not saying our season is over, but the purpose of this video is sometimes you got to take it. You got to seize the day, right? Carpe diem. You have to Phineas and Ferb this thing. Ferb, what are we going to do this year? We're going to win the NFC North. We're going to win our first playoff game ever at Ford Field. We're going to win our first playoff game in 30 years. We had an opportunity last year to go to the Super Bowl, and in my opinion, we blew it. Now, again, there's a lot of season to play. The Vikings could fall off a cliff. The Packers could come back. I mean, the Bears can make some type of run. So it ain't over by any means. But what it got me thinking is something you already know, but a lot of Lions fans went into this year thinking total domination. We were going to repeat as NFC North champions. We were going to just blaze through the first seed. We're going to blaze through the playoffs. We're going to get back to the NFC title game, possibly host it, and go to our first ever Super Bowl, right? We had an opportunity last year, and you need to. I don't want to be Brad Holmes, because there's kind of a song and dance. There's kind of a kind of courtship that you have to have with making decisions for the now and then making the best decisions for the future, right? Now, a lot of you guys believe that Josh Reynolds cost us the NFC title game. Did he play a part in us losing? Yes. Was he the biggest part of us losing? No. Okay. I will blame two things. All right. Well, three things. I will blame the defense. That's one. So that's Aaron Glenn, and the lack of personnel. Okay. That's two. And number three, I will blame the third quarter, second half woes that continue to plague us right now, this season. That's why we lost the NFC title game. But the point of this video is it's a balance, right? Now, the Lions are going to be good for a long time, we expect. Just because they don't win a division doesn't mean that they can't go all the way. We've seen teams, the New York Giants, for one, played all three games on the road on way to their first, well, not the first, but a Super Bowl, and winning that Super Bowl. So by no means is the end of the world. Even 2-2, all right? Even 2-3. It's not the end of the world. It's a long season left. But the odds for the Vikings to make it to the playoffs are almost guaranteed at this point. Super high. Winning the division is super high as well. But it ain't over yet. That's going to start to shape after, like I would say, the third quarter of the season. The month of November is when that's really going to, and I think it's going to come down to it. I think it is going to come down to, now I said it wasn't going to be any cutaways. I want to see who do we play the last game of the season? The last game of the season, we play the Minnesota Vikings, January 5th, 2025. So that's already, the stage is set right there. So we play them in week 7, and then we end the season. It could be for everything. It could be for nothing. Right before that, we play the 49ers. All right. Now, again, I said a couple weeks ago, that the Lions, I don't care how they made it to the playoffs. I mean, will I be disappointed if we're not the first seed? Yeah. Will I be disappointed we don't win the division? Yeah. But I'm going to tell you what, them prices at Ford Field, man, I'm not going to complain necessarily if for the price if I have to go to a road playoff game, because Ford Field going to be crazy. The Rams game to get into the NFC title game, had it been at Ford Field, was probably $1,400. To get into the Rams, it was around the same thing. It was insane. They were $1,400. I think the Rams tickets were $700-800 just to stand. Like, it was ridiculous. So the point is that the Lions could make it into the playoffs if they're 5, 6, or 7. Okay, they're going to have to play their first game on the road. They have a possibility at 5 in order to host the divisional game. All right. But they're going to have to start their playoff on the road. That's what they're going to need to do. Now, for me personally, anything less than a Super Bowl appearance is a failure of a season. It 100% is, because we made it to the NFC title game. To me, that is a lateral move, okay? So if we don't make the Super Bowl, we fail. If we don't make the NFC title game, we fail. Okay? So worst case scenario, we're supposed to be one of the 2 contending teams to make it to the Super Bowl. Best case scenario, we get there and we win. Right? Those are my standards for this team. I don't know what yours is. Put them in the comments below. A lot of season left. But you guys have heard it before. You've watched the channel, so you know how I feel. I feel like that it is time for Brad Holmes to make a power move. This team is a contender, and we are going to, and there's plenty of time. There's plenty of time right now. This is the first quarter of the season. The second quarter of the season is the October month, right? After that, the second week in November is the trade deadline. It's week 9 this year. People's seasons are going to be over, all right? And there's a guy that I think the guy that I want is Trey Hendrickson. Like he's the guy that I want. I would take a Khalil Mack, you wouldn't hear me complain. I would take a Son Reddick, you wouldn't hear me complain. But the guy that I'm watching is Trey Hendrickson. It really depends. The Cincinnati Bengals right now are 0-3. If they get to 0-4, their season is most likely over. And they could be 3-8, 3-7, right? And it really depends on where they are, because that one game is going to be different. Really, really, really huge. And that's why they pushed the trade deadline back this year, because that extra week is one extra game, and that one extra game can make all the difference in the world. A 2-7 team is not going to make the playoffs. A 3-6 team can. We saw the LA Rams do that last year. All right. So the Lions have an opportunity to really show us what they're made of. We know about the grit. We know about how they've battled through adversity. And to me, some of their best football is when their backs is against the wall. We've seen that. But I also asked the question, was grit going to be enough to win a Super Bowl? And we're going to see, because guess what? The Minnesota Vikings, they got talent on their team. Andrew Van Ginkel, talent. They lost Danielle Hunter, but they drafted Dallas Turner, right? They went out and got Aaron Jones in free agency. The Minnesota Vikings have talent. They also, going into week 4, lead the league in sacks. The Detroit Lions, they got grit. They got talent, but do they have enough? We're going to see. We're going to see. Now, a lot of football left, a lot of time left, trade deadline approaching. We'll see. Brad Holmes, I think this is the year, to me, that he realizes he going to have to do something. Now, the rumor was that he was at the Alabama game yesterday, maybe looking at some people on the teams that were playing. That's good. That's cool, Brad. Appreciate you scouting ahead. But right now, we trying to win. We trying to win right now. And I don't know about you, but if the Lions made a move, the move, whatever it is, last year, we made the Super Bowl, how many of y'all think we would have beat the Chiefs? I do. We win the Super Bowl. Let's say we have, I think the LA Rams had the worst Super Bowl hangover in the Super Bowl era. I think they were the worst team after a Super Bowl. Let's say we do that. We win last year. And this year, we're just really, really bad. Injuries, whatever happens. This year, we're bad. Next year, we squeak into the playoffs. The year after that, we are back in contention. Is that something you trade off for a Super Bowl? I do. Would I like to be good for a long time? I would. Do I think Brad Holmes is planning for that? I do. However, in my honest assessment, you are going to have to do something to be in contention. You got to make a move to really put you in. We're in contention now, but actual battling for the number 1 spot in not only the conference, but in the entire league. The New York Jets went and got a guy we can't stand. Okay, Aaron Rodgers. Rumor has it that Devontae Adams, he had a little hamstring injury, now on the sideline. Raiders keep losing. Devontae Adams is up for trade. He will not be a Raider next year under his current contract. That's courtesy of my sports update. Okay. What if the Jets make a move for Devontae Adams? The defense they got, the quarterback we can't stand. They've got Garrett Wilson. They had a defense for the last 6-7 years. And then you put Devontae, Aaron, Sauce, Garrett, Brees. All of a sudden, they in there, right? Now, do they go all the way? They still got to get through the Bills and the Chiefs. But Devontae Adams shoots their stock up a ton. Lions, let me know in the comments below. Do you think this could be the year Brad Holmes makes a power move? Not just a move, a power move. A power move is a Max Crosby. I know y'all want Max. Max is not an option right now. I just don't know how they can make that happen. He's not an option. Trey Hendrickson is an option with or without the extension. Now, don't forget, he wants to be traded. He said that going into the season because he wants an extension, but he ain't making no noise. Trey is the guy that I think we could target, depending on the Bengals season. So that's going to be something to watch for. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Nice little kind of calm before the storm. Minnesota Vikings, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I'm pretty good at calling these things. They're going to be 4-0. Lions got to win tomorrow versus the Seahawks. But let me know. Get a great night's sleep. Remember, this channel is brought to you by viewers, subscribers, and members just like you. You could be anywhere else on YouTube, but you choose to rock with me. You guys are awesome. Take care of yourself and each other. And as always, go Lions.